Hello everyone, I am Dr. Sapkar here. Today our plan is to discuss on neural tube defect. One of them is anencephaly, the second one is encephalocele, and the third one is spina bifida. Neural tube defect is a genetic name. There is failure of closure of neural tube by the end of 28 days after conception. If the cranial end of the neural tube fails to close, then anencephaly develops, and if caudal end of the neural tube fails to close, then spina bifida results. Ultrasonographically, in first trimester, anencephaly and encephalocele are the two conditions which can be diagnosed. In anencephaly, in this case, the vault of the skull bone, forebrain, midbrain are absent. They are not developed at all. In anencephalocele, cranial bone defect is there. The commonest site is occipital bone defect. And there is protrusion of the brain and meninges through the defect. So this one is the photograph of encephalocele. This is a encephalocele. Neural tube defect, third type is spina bifida. So this is a photograph of spina bifida. By ultrasonography, it can be diagnosed only at 18 to 20 weeks of pregnancy. So it is diagnosed late in pregnancy. The commonest site is a lumbosacral region, and the commonest neural tube defects are anencephaly and spina bifida. There is usually MCQ on this. So remember, these two are commonest neural tube defects, and this is the spina bifida occulta photograph. Anencephaly as such is the commonest anomaly in India, 1 in 1000. The prevalence is decreasing nowadays because of the prophylactic use of folic acid in pregnancy and preconception period. Anencephaly as such is a severe form of neural tube defect. It is a lethal structural malformation, and neonate is also incompatible with the life. Neural tube, when it develops, it begins as a neural groove which later on closes both anteriorly and posteriorly. %30 of the cases of anencephaly, hydramnios is coexistent. It may be with or without uncontrolled diabetes. 30% of the cases, there is a live birth. Anencephaly and spina bifida coexist in 20% of the cases. Hydronephrosis and cleft lip are also observed along with the anencephaly in 16% and 10% each. The other malformations which may coexist along with anencephaly may be omphalocele in 6% cases and cardiac anomalies in 4% of cases. Remember, 4 times it is more common in the female fetus. That's why when you describe the specimen, mention that it is a female fetus if it is. It is a hereditary condition with a genetic predisposition where the chance of recurrence is approximately 5 to 10%. How to describe the specimen? Initially, you talk about the skull bones, then talk about the brain, and then give the general description of the specimen. Hence, when I describe the specimen, I should comment about the vault of the skull bones. In this specimen, vault of the skull bones are missing. Forebrain and midbrain is also absent due to secondary degenerative changes. It is a female fetus where the neck is short, eyes are prominent, bridge of the nose is depressed, tongue is large and protruding out. Spina bifida defect with meningomyelocele at the cervical vertebra are seen in the specimen which is there in our hospital, People's Hospital. There there is a spina bifida defect in the specimen. So a comment about whether it is seen or not seen must be there at the end of the description of the specimen. What is the etiology for this anencephaly or neural tube defects at cyst total? Megaloblastic anemia, maternal diabetes. With diabetes, there are 20-fold higher incidence of neural tube defect. That's why family history of diabetes should be mentioned, and family history is also should be documented about the hereditary, whether it is hereditary or not, because it is autosomal recessive, especially Meckel-Guber syndrome. As it is autosomal recessive, there is 25% chance of recurrence in these cases. This Meckel-Gruber syndrome includes encephalocele and polycystic kidney. There may be history of use of anti-epileptic drugs, aminopterin, valproate, isoretinoin use may be there, or carbamazepine. Hyperthermia during first 4 weeks after conception is seen sometimes. Viral infection, commonest among them are toxoplasma and cytomegalovirus infection, especially if there is a spina bifida is the etiology. It's seen as a defect. The recurrence chance is 5% with history of 1 anencephaly and 13% with history of 2 anencephaly pregnancies. Folic acid deficiency during embryogenesis affects the methylation of DNA. And most important thing which we have discussed, second etiological factor may be genetic predisposition, where there is involvement of the genes coding for the enzymes. These enzymes are required for the metabolism of cobalamin, homocysteine and folic acid. As such, you should remember there is a hyperhomocysteinemia. So what are the reasons for this hyperhomocysteinemia? There is abnormal cobalamin metabolism, there is deficient methionine synthetase activity, and there is block in the conversion of homocysteine into methionine. This block is due to C677T genetic mutation, where enzyme activity is affected. What is the name of the enzyme? It is methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme. Diagnosis by clinical examination. Hydramnios is seen in 50% of cases. It is due to exposed meninges and poor swelling reflex of the amniotic fluid. Contour of the head cannot be made out well as it is very small size and distorted. Prolonged labor, premature rupture of membranes, chorioamnionitis is a usual observation because of ill-fitting presenting part. It may be abnormal presentation also, like face presentation and breech. Phase 1 is the commonest presentation. Obstructed labor with malpresentation and transverse line may be seen, especially if there is a macrosomia associated with this condition. Post maturity is one of the observation where treatment is not given and early detection is not there. In these cases, this post maturity is due to non-functional pituitary, and because of that the adrenal corticosteroid hormones and estriol secretions are not there. Retained placenta and adherent placenta are one of the issues due to the diseased placenta. Earliest diagnosis is by sonography as early as 12 weeks, where CRL is less. By transabdominal sonography, it can be diagnosed by 14 weeks. On sonography, there may not be an ossification of the skull or non-visualization of the cranial vault, inability to obtain the biparietal diameter, No brain matter seen inside the cranium. Typical frog eye sign or Mickey Mouse sign is seen for anencephaly. Differential diagnosis for anencephaly may be microcephaly, acrania, and cranial defects because of amniotic band syndrome. In microcephaly, occipitofrontal diameter or biparietal diameter is less than 3 standard deviation from the mean, and head to body ratio will be below 5th percentile. Screening for anencephaly. It is the screening. Should be done by 15 weeks to 18 weeks. It may be a part of triple Merkel test or quad test where MSFAP मतलब means maternal serum alpha fetoproteins levels, they are estimated when MSAF values more than 2.5 mom or less than 0.5 mom are abnormal after correction for weight, diabetes and race. Rest 3 values like estriol levels less than 0.3 are seen in anencephaly. Beta HCG more than 3, inhibin more than 2 indicates IUGR or intrauterine death and placental abnormalities along with this defect. Open spina bifida will have raised MSAF values and other 3 values like estriol, beta HCG and inhibin A may be normal. All diabetic women should be screened for neural tube defects by maternal serum alpha fetoprotein levels. Maternal serum alpha fetoprotein level is a screening test for neural tube defect, and diagnostic test for neural tube defect or anencephaly is amniotic fluid AP level estimations and amniotic fluid acetylcholine esterase levels. These two levels of AP and acetylcholine esterase levels are the markers of neural tube defect or anencephaly, specifically of anencephaly. These patients should be subjected for targeted anomaly scan at 18 to 20 weeks. So screening test is started from say approximately 15 weeks to 18 weeks of pregnancy. Hyperglycemia during organogenesis is teratogenic in diabetic women. So they are at risk of developing cardiac, skeletal and neural tube defects. The defects which are common in diabetic women are caudal regression syndrome, anencephaly, open spina bifida, microcephaly and acrania. Induction of labor with prostaglandins is the treatment of choice in all cases. When the condition is diagnosed, especially anencephaly, in first trimester, approximately at 12 weeks, then suction evacuation or simple evacuation as an MTP treatment, as an MTP part is the treatment of choice. Other patient in second trimester, the labor is induced with the help of tablet misoprost, 100 to 200 microgram vaginal or sublingual route, 4 hourly, maximum 4 days doses are given. Misoprost is better than dinoprostone tablet because induction delivery interval is short, failure is less with misoprost tablet. Dinoprostone or prostaglandin E2. Vaginal tablets are also available, 3 mg 6 hourly, maximum 6 mg is the dose, but popular one is Serviprime gel, where PGE2 dose is 1 mg 6 hourly, maximum 1.5 mg is the dose. PGE2 vaginal, this is E2, cerviprime gel is E2, okay. Vaginal pessary PGE2, the name of the pessary is Prospes. It is a single dose treatment, 10 mg is placed transversely below the cervix. It is also effective drug. Old methods were extraovular ethacridine lactate injection. Pitocin drip was also used, where it was at high concentration pitocin drip. 10 units start, increase 10 units every half hourly till the maximum dose is 60 units or till the patient aborts. But these patients of anencephaly, they are resistant to oxytocin use. Why? Because pituitary is absent. Because of that, adrenocorticosteroids and estriol levels are less, or they are absent. Hence, they don't respond to the pitocin. If shoulder dystocia is there in labor, clididotomy is done, or Drissen's incision may be given, cut at 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock position, but it is rarely required for anencephaly. LSCS is done at the end if there is failure of induction or obstructed labor with macrosomia. What about the prevention of neural tube defects? Especially it is required in gestational diabetes mellitus, because congenital defects are 6 to 10%. Diabetic women they have twofold higher risk than the normal population. ECOG recommends folic acid to the dose of 0.4 milligram per day in all women of reproductive age, and can be given in the preconception and first trimester of pregnancy. The dose for patients with history of anencephaly or patients with anti-epileptic treatment, the prophylactic dose of folic acid is more. It is 5 milligram per day. Preventive dose for all women is 0.4 milligram per day. And for an history of anencephaly and anti-epileptic drugs, it is more, 5 milligram per day. Diabetic women should be screened by HbA1c in the preconception period itself, where if it is more than 8 during pregnancy, then in first trimester MTP is done. Echocardiography graph and ultrasonography are the other complementary tests in diabetes for screening in diabetes complicating pregnancy. Now let us discuss about the spina bifida. It is a defect in the development of the neural arc. The commonest site is the lumbosacral region. On sonography, 3 ossification centers, 1 for body and 2 for articular processes, are identified as in the form of linear lines. If there is a variation in the parallel lines on sonography, then spina bifida is suspected. In 80% of the cases, the defect is open with meningocele and meningomyelocele, and in 20% cases, spina bifida occulta, like this, is seen with the covered skin on top of it. It may be in the form of a sinus, nevus, hair tuft, or fatty swelling. So this is a nevus. 2% are associated with aneuploidy, hence amniocentesis is done to rule out these chromosomal defects. Treatment of spina bifida is LSCS. Other defects where LSCS is required is obstructive hydronephrosis, gastroschisis, and omphalocele. In gastroschisis, there is a right side abdominal wall defect with intestine floating in the amniotic cavity. While in omphalocele, the bowel is enclosed in the intact sac. It herniates through the midline abdominal wall defect, and cord insertion is seen on the top of this herniated sac. Diagnosis of cranial spina bifida is or Arnold-Chiari syndrome. is done with the help of sonography. In this case, there is herniation of the cerebellum through foramen magnum and there is obliteration of cisterna magna. Sometimes in these cases, cerebellum may be absent. Cranial signs on sonography are, one sign is banana sign, the other sign is lemon sign. In banana sign, there is acute curvature of the cerebellum because of the herniation of this cerebellum through the foramen magna. And in lemon sign, there is scalloping of the frontal bones because of changes in the posterior fossa. So this is the lemon sign. There is scalloping of the frontal bones. Other defects which are incompatible with life are anencephaly, encephalocele, bilateral renal agenesis, unilateral multicystic kidney where it is non-functional, hydronephrosis. Major defects like esophageal atresia, tracheoesophageal fistula, they are always there in the list. Tay-Sachs disease is one more condition which is incompatible with the life. This last slide is very important for the postgraduates. Reasons for malformation in diabetic women it is always due to abnormal embryogenesis. But why there is abnormal embryogenesis? Hyperglycemia and presence of this somatomidine inhibiting factor is the reason for abnormal embryogenesis. Decreased levels of arachidonic acid, myoinositol, which leads to excess of free oxygen radical formation. Elevated levels of branched chain amino acids and triglycerides are also responsible for abnormal embryogenesis. Tissue hypoxia due to macroangiopathy and yolk sac injury may be due to transient hypoglycemia or ketoacidosis in diabetic women are the reasons for congenital defects. Conditions where maternal serum alpha-fetoprotein levels are raised but there are no neural tube defects identified are any structural defect where there is a breach in the fetal skin like omphalocele, gastroschisis. At such MSAF levels, it is a marker of diseased placenta where there is a risk of abortion, stillbirth, prematurity, IUG, GR, IUD and neonatal death. Other conditions where MSAF levels are more are diaphragmatic hernia, congenital nephrosis, wrong dates, multiple pregnancy, parvovirus infections. This slide is important for the postgraduates. Usually a short question is asked on MSAF.